Imagine a deal so outrageous that it seemed like a madman's pipe dream. The United States buying a vast frozen wasteland for just 2 cents an acre. What could possibly go wrong? In 1867, that dream became a reality when the United States agreed to purchase Alaska from Russia. But why would a nation invest in a seemingly barren expanse of ice and rock? Alaska, nestled at the northern edge of North America, sprawled over 586,000 square miles of rugged terrain. Its landscape included towering mountains, dense forests, and sprawling tundra. But Alaska held more than just scenic beauty. Strategically, it was a gateway to the Arctic and the Pacific. Control of Alaska meant potential dominance over vital trade routes and resources. Gold, oil, and furs waited to be claimed. At the center of this audacious deal was William H. Seward, the U.S. Secretary of State. A fervent proponent of expansionism, Seward envisioned a powerful, sprawling nation. He was not alone in this endeavor. On the other side of the negotiating table sat Tsar Alexander II of Russia, who saw the sale as a means of strengthening his waning empire. Russia was feeling the pressure of its own financial burdens and geopolitical competition. The vast expanse of Alaska, with its harsh climate and rugged conditions, was proving more trouble than it was worth. The backdrop of U.S.-Russia relations was complex. During the 19th century, especially after the bitter trials of the Civil War, America emerged with renewed vigor. Simultaneously, Russia sought to expand its influence beyond its borders, wary of a rising power in the Pacific. Tensions eased considerably during this period, creating a surprising camaraderie founded on pragmatism. Seward, armed with an unshakable vision, proposed the purchase to President Andrew Johnson. Many scoffed at the transaction. Critics dubbed it Seward's folly. Yet, keen on securing American interests and countering British ambitions in the region, the deal moved forward. On March 30, 1867, the U.S. paid $7.2 million, just 2 cents per acre. The deal set in motion an enterprise that appeared ludicrous to many. The purchase sparked ripples across the continent. Some Americans viewed Alaska as a barren wasteland, but others recognized its potential. The initial years after acquisition saw little activity. Settlers hesitated to conquer the inhospitable land. But rumors of gold began circulating throughout the late 19th century, igniting a fierce desire for exploration and exploitation among prospectors. However, beneath the surface of this newfound excitement lay shadows of greed and betrayal. Intense competition would soon emerge, fueled by the promise of untold riches. The rush for resources would pit American against American, and even indigenous populations would find themselves caught in the tumult. Rumors began to build, whispers of a vast wealth hidden beneath the icy crust. But could Alaska truly deliver on its promise? As tensions mounted, the purchase would reveal itself not only as a gamble for wealth, but also as a test of endurance against nature's fury. Would the riches below prove to be a curse rather than a blessing? As the nation prepared to dive headfirst into an uncertain future, one question loomed large. What unforeseen challenges would arise as America sought to harness the raw potential of this frigid land? As the winter of 1867 gripped the nation, a fierce negotiation unfolded. At the heart stood William H. Seward, Secretary of State. He was a man with a vision that stretched beyond the horizon of the dark Arctic waters. Seward believed Alaska presented a strategic opportunity. Facing Russia, an uneasy neighbor, he understood that control over the vast wilderness meant power over trade routes and potential natural resources. The backdrop of these discussions was steeped in financial ambiguity. The acquisition price? A staggering $7.2 million. Adjusted for inflation, that's roughly $140 million today. Quite a sum for a territory some dismissed as barren. Yet when you break it down, it equated to about 2 cents an acre. At face value, it seemed absurd. Seward's folly, critics jeered. Skeptics in Congress openly questioned the rationale. Wasn't this simply a vast expanse of ice and snow? Why expend taxpayer money on what many perceived as a frozen wasteland? Seward was undeterred. He rallied support from key senators and influential figures. He argued for the strategic value. Alaska was a gateway to the Pacific. It could become a bridge to trade with Asia. The potential for rich resources, gold, oil, furs, was tantalizing, yet speculative. This was not merely an acquisition, it was a gamble on the future. Yet doubts gnawed at many. In fact, some individuals went so far as to blame Seward for recklessness. They claimed he was misallocating resources toward a region where survival itself was uncertain. Newspapers chimed in, mocking the deal. Headlines branded it a steal and pondered what the U.S. would even do with such an isolated and inhospitable landscape. People openly questioned the prudence of this move, with some going so far as to exclaim that Seward must have been duped by Russian negotiators. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, Russia could sense America's hesitance. They appreciated the strategic bargaining needed to get from a possible war to a sale. The Russian Empire was eager to offload Alaska, fearing that in future conflicts it would become a liability rather than an asset. The Napoleon of the North was already spreading too thin. As the negotiations dragged into March, Seward's confidence began to outweigh the naysayers. He believed in the latent potential of Alaska, envisioning a flourishing territory. But was that optimism justified? Critics pointed to the challenges: brutal winters that could threaten settlement efforts, isolation that could stifle development, and the sheer unpredictability of nature's wrath in the region. The rhetoric grew intense. In Congress, discussions teetered on the brink of chaos. Would Alaska become a burden or a boon? With every passing day, the pressure mounted. Seward needed solid support to push this deal through. At last, on March 30th, 1867, the treaty was signed, and much to the disbelief of its opponents, the purchase moved forward. The ink dried on a document that would forever change the map of the United States. But looming on the horizon were signs of turmoil, both politically and environmentally. What would it take for America to tame this vast wilderness? The purchase sparked a newfound interest in the territory, one that ignited rumors of gold beneath the permafrost. Would this lonely expanse prove to be the land of opportunity, or a treacherous challenge that would test the very limits of American resilience? As stories of gold seeped into the public consciousness, whispers of exploration began to echo throughout the nation. But beneath the allure lay a hidden danger. Was the gold rush a promise of prosperity or a perilous trap in an unforgiving land? Join us next time as we delve deeper into the wild frontier of Alaska and uncover what awaited those who sought fortune in a land that had no intention of revealing its secrets easily. The purchase of Alaska unleashed a firestorm of opinion. Skepticism ruled public sentiment. Newspapers pounced on the deal, portraying it as a colossal blunder. Editorials branded it Seward's folly and Seward's icebox, painting a picture of frigid wasteland devoid of value. The press fanned the flames of doubt. Cartoons caricatured Secretary of State William H. Seward as a fool, wielding his pickaxe but finding nothing but ice and snow. The symbol of his ambition morphed into a national joke, a testament to the apparent folly of the American government. But it wasn't just the press that opposed Seward. Congress was a battleground. Many lawmakers questioned the wisdom of spending $7.2 million on such a distant, inhospitable territory. The escalating costs of post-Civil War reconstruction weighed heavily on the national conscience. Why divert funds to a land apparently rich only in permafrost? Figures like Senator Charles Sumner voiced their concerns, warning that Alaska could become a vast expense with little payoff. Public skepticism mirrored the congressional debates, reinforcing the narrative that Seward's gamble was reckless. Yet amidst the ice and cold, whispers of gold began to circulate. Rumors sparked interest. Expeditions set towards the north, fueled by the promise of discovery. Skeptics held their breath, while audacious speculators dreamed of wealth. By the end of the 19th century, Alaska transformed dramatically in public perception. Reports of gold strikes in the Klondike proliferated. The price of venture soared. Alaska was no longer a barren wasteland. It became a beacon of opportunity. But it wasn't just gold that shifted opinions. The bountiful waters teeming with fish caught the eye of the fishing industry, and the burgeoning petroleum industry soon targeted the land for its natural resources. Explorers returned with tales not just of ice, but of vast forests, rich wildlife, and a coastline brimming with potential. Suddenly, Alaska was a hotbed of commercial interest. Investors recognized the strategic importance of its location. The purchase transformed from a political embarrassment to a pivotal piece in the puzzle of American expansionism. As the nation grew hungry for resources to sustain its industrial revolution, Alaska was positioned as a critical asset. However, the acquisition's early years were not without struggles. Infrastructure was scarce. Settlers faced nature's fury. Harsh winters and isolation tested the resolve of those who ventured into the unknown. Some called it a death wish to live in the territory. Yet hope lingered, driving pioneers and entrepreneurs further into the unforgiving wilderness. With the changing tides of fortune, what lay ahead for Alaska and its people? As public opinion began to tilt from disdain to desire, would the new interests reshape the political landscape once more? Would the challenges that still loomed ahead, both natural and man-made, threaten the dreams of those who dared to settle this vast expanse? The answers to these questions were just as chilling as Alaska's enduring climate. What revelations awaited as we dig deeper into this icy gamble? The acquisition of Alaska was more than a controversial purchase. It was a catalyst for transformation. The strategic benefits became glaringly evident, especially during the rise of global tensions in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The U.S. military quickly recognized Alaska's potential. Its geographic location served as a launching point for operations in the Pacific, particularly against Russian interests in the region. As Western powers scrambled for dominance, Alaska stood as a deterrent. The U.S. could project its power across the Bering Strait, securing its interests and asserting its influence. But it wasn't just military might that flipped the narrative on Alaska. As the nation moved into the 1890s, it faced a hunger for resources that matched its ambitions. Tales of gold rushes ignited a frenzy. In 1896, rich deposits were discovered in Bonanza Creek near Dawson City. Throngs of prospectors descended upon Alaska, and the phrase, "Gold, gold, gold from the American River," echoed through the streets of San Francisco. The economic boom wasn't just a flash. It catalyzed crucial infrastructure development. Railroads, telegraph lines, and towns sprang up almost overnight. Alaska's contribution to the American economy surged beyond gold, with fur, fish, oil, and timber joining the alchemy of riches. By the turn of the century, Alaska was no longer seen as a barren wasteland. It had become an integral part of the American identity, woven into the fabric of national aspirations. The natural bounty showcased America's resolve to harness the land for progress and prosperity. The purchase, initially greeted with skepticism, ultimately thrust the nation into a new era, one where Alaska helped fuel the engines of industry and innovation across the continent. Yet, the legacy of this monumental deal was not without its shadows. As the nation celebrated its acquisitions, the original stewards of the land, the indigenous peoples, faced an uncertain fate. The gold rush and subsequent exploitation of resources led to significant displacement and cultural erasure. Tribal leaders and communities found their ways of life threatened, and promises of sovereignty dwindled under relentless encroachment. The U.S. government's approach shifted, invoking treaties that were often broken or ignored, leading to a legacy of mistrust that would inform indigenous relations for generations. The repercussions stretched beyond Alaska's borders. American foreign policy evolved, influenced by the realities of its northernmost territory. The strategic positioning in the Arctic became critical during the World Wars, and it shaped the Cold War dynamics. Alaska transformed from a seemingly frivolous purchase into a focal point of geopolitical strategy, underscoring America's expanding influence globally while wrestling with its responsibilities to indigenous nations. Fast forward to today, Alaska remains a complex intersection of opportunity and heritage, rich in resources, yet rife with historical grievances. As we contemplate the future of the 49th state, one burning question emerges. Has the United States truly reconciled its past and embraced the full spectrum of what Alaska represents? Or is the story far from over, with more consequences waiting to unfold?